Barack Hussein Obama II was born on August 4, 1962, in Honolulu, Hawaii, far from the small village of Kogelo in Siaya County, Kenya, where his father began his life journey. His story would one day connect two continents, two cultures, and millions of people who saw in him a symbol of hope. But his path to history did not begin with power or privilege. It began with struggle, personal, emotional, and deeply human. His mother, Ann Dunham, was a young woman from Kansas, raised with Midwestern values of hard work and resilience. His father, Barack Obama Sr., was born in rural Kenya and belonged to the Luo ethnic community. He had grown up herding goats before earning a scholarship that took him to America as part of the prestigious Tom Mboya airlift program. He was determined, brilliant, and charismatic, but also complicated, a man with dreams bigger than his circumstances. Their paths crossed at the University of Hawaii, where they fell in love. But their relationship did not last long. When Barack was just 2 years old, his father left Hawaii to pursue further studies at Harvard University and later returned to Kenya. Obama would not see him again until a brief visit when he was 10 years old. His father died in a car accident in 1982, leaving behind unanswered questions and a son who grew up searching for identity. Raised by his mother and grandparents, Barack spent his early childhood in Hawaii before moving to Indonesia when his mother remarried. Life in Jakarta exposed him to poverty and cultural diversity. He saw children begging in the streets, families living in wooden shacks, and political unrest under dictatorship. The world, he learned early, was unequal, but it was also connected. His mother taught him discipline and empathy, waking him at dawn for home lessons before school. She believed education was the greatest tool of change, and Obama carried that belief for life. He returned to Hawaii as a teenager to attend Punahou School, one of the best schools in the state. But despite academic success, he struggled with questions many young people face. Who am I? Where do I belong? He was a boy of two worlds, black and white, African and American. Yet he felt fully part of neither. These silent battles shaped his character. They forced him to think, to question, and to search. After high school, he moved to Los Angeles to attend Occidental College and later transferred to Columbia University in New York. There he studied political science and began writing, thinking deeply about society, justice, race, and purpose. After graduating, he worked in New York briefly before making a life-changing decision. He moved to Chicago to become a community organizer. In the struggling neighborhoods of Chicago's South Side, Obama found his calling. Not in money or status, but in service. He worked with churches and local leaders to help families affected by unemployment, crime, and poverty. These years on the streets of Chicago shaped his voice. He listened to workers who felt abandoned, teenagers who felt forgotten, and mothers who worried their children would never escape the cycle of poverty. It was here he learned that real leadership begins by listening. Yet, even as he helped others, one part of him remained unsettled, his connection to his father and his Kenyan roots. He had stories but no understanding, memories but no truth. So in 1987, he boarded a plane to Nairobi, Kenya, in search of answers. It was not a political journey. It was a personal one, a son searching for home. When he arrived in Kenya, he was welcomed not as a foreigner but as family. The son of Barack Obama Sr. in Nairobi, he heard Swahili greetings and felt the warmth of African hospitality. He traveled by matatu, walked crowded markets, and listened to stories about his father. Some proud, some painful. But it was in the village of Kogelo, surrounded by red earth and sugarcane fields, that his heart finally felt at peace. His grandmother, Mama Sarah Obama, embraced him and spoke of the family he never knew. Relatives told him stories of his grandfather Onyango Obama, a fearless and disciplined man who once worked for the British and was later arrested during colonial resistance. Obama visited his father's grave and cried, not only for the man he lost but for the part of himself he finally found. Kenya gave him a missing piece of his soul. It made him whole. He returned to America determined to build a life of purpose. He attended Harvard Law School and became the first black president of the Harvard Law Review. He was admired, but instead of choosing wealth at a big law firm, he returned to Chicago to serve. He taught constitutional law, continued community work, and entered politics, not to chase fame, but to change lives. He was elected to the Illinois State Senate in 1996, then to the United States Senate in 2004 after a speech that moved millions, where he declared, "I am the son of a black man from Kenya and a white woman from Kansas. And I stand here knowing that my story is part of the larger American story." These words did not just inspire America, they awakened pride in Kenya. When he ran for president in 2008, the world watched. His message was simple but powerful: hope. And on November 4, 2008, Barack Obama made history as the first African-American president of the United States. In Kenya, people danced in the streets of Nairobi and Kisumu. In Kogelo, villagers slaughtered bulls and celebrated the victory of one of their own. The world now knew the journey of a boy who once questioned where he belonged. As president, Obama faced a nation in crisis. The economy was collapsing, banks were failing, and millions had lost their homes. He worked day and night to stabilize the financial system, saving the American auto industry and passing reforms to prevent another Great Depression. But leadership came with weight, and the pressures of the presidency tested him. Still, he remained calm, steady, and thoughtful, a quality many traced back to his cross-cultural upbringing and his Kenyan roots of perseverance. In his first months in office, he made a historic trip back to Africa, though Kenya was not on the itinerary due to political complications involving leaders accused of corruption and violence. Still, Kenya celebrated him as "our son." Streets were painted with murals of his face, children were named Obama, and Kogelo became a global landmark. The world finally knew the village where a president's journey began. During his presidency, he often spoke proudly of his Kenyan heritage. He shared stories of his father and grandmother, of the lessons he had learned in Africa: humility, community, and the belief that progress is achieved together. He remained connected to his Kenyan family, helping them quietly while respecting political boundaries. He invited his step-grandmother Mama Sarah Obama to his inauguration, where she sat wrapped in Maasai beads, representing a continent's pride. He faced fierce opposition in Washington, with critics questioning everything from his policies to his identity. Some extremists spread lies claiming he was not born in the United States or that he was secretly foreign. Obama responded not with anger but with calm humor and focus. "I was actually born on Krypton," he once joked, "and sent here by my father Jor-El to save the planet." Behind the jokes, however, was a man enduring relentless pressure, yet never losing sight of service. In 2010, he signed the Affordable Care Act, bringing health care to millions of Americans who had lived without it. He ended the war in Iraq, ordered the mission that eliminated the terrorist Osama bin Laden, and fought for equality by legalizing same-sex marriage nationwide. He became a symbol, not just of black achievement, but of global possibility. Meanwhile, in Kenya, young people saw in Obama a story that gave them courage. His rise told them that distance, poverty, and circumstance could not block destiny. In schools, his speeches were studied. In Parliament, his name was invoked as proof that Kenya could produce greatness. He was a bridge between Africa and America, between hope and history. Yet Obama's journey was not without personal storms. He wrote candidly about marital struggles, insecurity, and failures. Michelle Obama, his wife, was his anchor, strong, brilliant, and unafraid to speak truth. She balanced raising their daughters, Malia and Sasha, with becoming one of the most influential first ladies in history. Their love was tested by politics, but it endured through unity, purpose, and faith. When Obama visited Kenya in 2015 as President of the United States, it was more than a political trip, it was a homecoming. Air Force One landed in Nairobi, and the world watched as he stepped onto Kenyan soil once again. Crowds cheered, flags waved, and emotions erupted. He hugged his sister Alma, spoke warmly of his family, and even joked about Kenyan traffic. But he also spoke tough truths. In his speech at Kasarani Stadium, he challenged Kenyans to fight corruption, tribalism, and gender inequality. He urged them to lift their nation higher. He said, "I am proud to be the first Kenyan American president." And in that moment, history and heritage embraced. After leaving office in 2017, Obama did not disappear into silence. He continued to serve, through the Obama Foundation, the My Brother's Keeper initiative, and leadership programs around the world, including Africa. He launched the Obama Foundation Leaders Program in Africa, mentoring young changemakers from across the continent, including Kenya. He visited Kogelo again in 2018 to open his sister Alma's Sports and Training Center, smiling widely as he danced to traditional Luo music. He shook hands with local villagers, spoke Swahili phrases, and reminded people that roots matter. Even out of power, he remained influential. He wrote best-selling books, including A Promised Land, where he reflected deeply on his life, family, and Kenyan identity. He spoke often of his late father, not with anger, but with understanding. Their complicated relationship had shaped him but did not define him. He grew to accept that identity is not given by others, it is discovered. Today, Barack Obama stands as one of the most respected leaders of the modern age. His story continues, not as a politician, but as a teacher of hope and unity. From the red soils of Kogelo to the White House of Washington, from a boy lost between worlds to a man who united them, he proved that history does not belong to the powerful, it belongs to those who dare to believe. From the very beginning, Barack Obama's life was not written in straight lines. He was not born into wealth, nor did he inherit a family name of influence. Instead, his life began with questions of identity, belonging, and purpose. Growing up between continents, cultures, and races, he learned his first great lesson. Life may not give you a simple beginning, but it always gives you the power to define yourself. As a young man, Barack didn't know exactly who he was. Was he African? American? Neither? Both? In search of himself, he made mistakes, drifted, struggled, even lost his way at times. But he learned that uncertainty is not failure, it is often the door to wisdom. From his mother, he learned curiosity and compassion. From his grandparents, he learned resilience. And from his father, through his absence, he learned that we are shaped not only by what we have, but also by what we lack. As he walked the streets of Chicago as a community organizer, he faced people who were broken by poverty and abandoned by a system that didn't care. He could have chased money or privilege, but he chose service. And there, he learned another profound truth. Real leadership is not found in titles. It is found in service. He listened to the struggles of factory workers, single mothers, and young men trapped by violence. He discovered that change does not arrive in lightning. It is built slowly, day by day, choice by choice, heart by heart. But dreams are never easy. When he ran for Congress and lost, he tasted public failure, a bitter pain most people run from. Yet he did not surrender. Failure does not end a dream. Giving up does. So he stood again. Taller, sharper, wiser. He found his voice, not in shouting, but in telling the truth. His speeches did not come from ambition, they came from conviction. He spoke of hope when others spoke of fear. He believed in unity when others sold division. He understood something powerful. Words cannot change the world, but they can change hearts, and hearts can change the world. As he rose to the presidency, he carried not just his own story, but the story of millions who had been told they could not rise. And still, when he entered the White House, life did not suddenly become easy. Power brings pressure. Leadership invites criticism. But Obama showed grace under fire. When mocked, he did not attack. When doubted, he did not break. He embodied a lesson from his grandmother in Kenya and from his grandfather in Kansas alike. Strength is not loud. Strength is steady. He faced racism. He faced hatred. He faced global crises. But through it all, he kept faith, not blindly, but with courage. He learned that hope is not a wish or a dream. Hope is a decision, a choice to believe that tomorrow can be better, and that we each have a role in making it so. His life teaches us many things, but perhaps the most beautiful lesson came when he returned to Kenya, standing on the red soil of his father's village, looking at the graves of those who came before him. In that moment, he understood. No matter how far you go in life, never forget where you came from. Because roots do not hold you down, they give you strength. His story teaches us that greatness is not about being perfect or powerful. It is about choosing purpose over comfort. It is about keeping dignity in times of darkness. It is about believing, not in destiny, but in effort. And so, the true lesson from Barack Obama's life is simple. You do not need to be born into greatness to achieve it. You simply need to rise, again and again, with hope, courage, and heart.